Hello guys and welcome back to another video. I know it has been a while since I last filmed, but I was super busy at the hospital and I managed to read only 2 books after October. But since it is the end of 2017, I want to share with you 10 of the best books I read this year. I gave 13 books 5-star rating this year, but 2 of them were rereads, so I'm not going to include them. I know I'm always going to love Pride and Prejudice and Persuasion by Jane Austen. Now, I have ranked these 10 books from my least favorite to my most favorite, so I hope you guys enjoy this video. And without further ado, let's just jump right in. So, my 10th favorite book this year was Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. It took me almost a month to finish Little Dorrit because the book is huge and the writing is not very simple. Now looking back, I feel like this book was so unique and Charles Dickens' writing is so different and it's just very entertaining. So that is why Little Dorrit is on the 10th spot. My ninth favorite book was Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. I have 2 Gaskell books on my list and Wives and Daughters made it to slot 9. It was a really good book. It was highly enjoyable and very soothing and comforting. This was another chunker and it took me a while to finish these 700 pages, but it was worth the effort. The eighth book on the list is The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. This is another chunker and this was my first Trollope and I really enjoyed it. It was very entertaining and very easy to read. Even though this was such a huge book, I was not thinking while I was reading it. I could just easily go through the book and the story was very entertaining as well. My seventh favorite book this year was surprisingly Hard Times by Charles Dickens. I finished this book this month and I was not expecting it to be any good. Honestly speaking, when I bought this book, I had no idea. And when I read the plotline, I was like, oh my god, it is going to be so boring. But once I started reading this book, it was such a breath of fresh air. I highly enjoyed this book and I would recommend this to everyone because Charles Dickens is a tough author to read, but I think starting with a smaller book is so much better. And even though this book has no love story or love triangle, I still highly enjoyed this book, which is pretty unusual for me. My sixth favorite book this year was a short story collection by Michael Bulgakov, which was A Country Doctor's Notebook. And I think I enjoyed it so much because I read it at a perfect time in my life. I am a young doctor myself and I could relate to this book so much, especially because this is set in the rural areas and since I'm from a third world country, it is pretty much similar, the situations this guy is going through and the situation we face every day. So I highly enjoyed this book and I found it very entertaining. My fifth favorite book this year was Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte. This is another book which I did not have any expectations from. I went in blindly and I was pleasantly surprised. I finished it in one day and I still remember that day. It was such a happy day reading this book and I would recommend it to anyone who is interested in classical literature because it is a simple book to start and highly enjoyable. My fourth favorite book this year was North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I read this book in the beginning of the year and I still love it so much. This is the second Gaskell on my list and this book helped me in rediscovering my joy of classics and I'm so happy I read it and I'm surprised I had never heard about it before because it is such a classic. My second favorite book this year was War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. I read this book in the months of June and July. There was a readathon hosted on YouTube. I still recall scenes and characters from this book today, so I realized why this book is a classic and why it impacts so many people because even though this book was massive, I still would recommend it to you because it is worth it. And drumroll, my favorite book this year was Middlemarch by George Eliot. It is just an amazing story and I loved the writing. Another book which helped me rediscover my passion for reading. Katie from Books and Things did a video of Victorian literature recommendations and I recommended Middlemarch by George Eliot. I already want to reread this book because I know it is very thought provoking and there are passages in this book which just make you think and, you know, consider human life and human nature in such a simple way. It is not like a fairy tale, it is a very realistic, real life story, and that is why this is my favorite book of 2017. So that's it, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this video and please let me know down in the comments which was your favorite book of 2017. I would love to have some recommendations and I'm going to see you all in my next video very soon. Bye.